All right, Adeline, you interviewed Tengku Zafrul of CIMB. How was he? How was he?
He was good. He seemed to be in a buoyant mood, and ironically, he'd just come out of a board meeting. But I think there was a sense of relief that the past 4-year strategic plan that it had come to an end, and they'd done pretty well on that. And so you could see a sense of relief, and he was in a good mood.
So his 4-year plan, I think T18, has come and gone. Last year was a record year, I think, for them, as well as their biggest competitor, Maybank.
For several banks, actually.
For several banks,
yes.
actually, which is a bit incongruous with what we felt on the ground. So what's the next 4 years like for CIMB, from his opinion?
Okay, so they're done with T18, and they've come up with a new 5-year plan called Forward 23 because it ends in 2023.
Right.
With T18, they were trying to catch up with regional peers, not in terms of asset size, but on several fronts like ROEs, cost-to-income ratio, profit before tax, those kind of metrics. And they feel they've achieved some kind of measure. According to Zafrul, if you compare themselves to the top 13 regional banks right now, they fare somewhere between the middle to the bottom. So
on those metrics, yeah?
On those metrics. So now the next 5 years is where they plan to step it up. They want to accelerate growth. So growth they plan to accelerate particularly in Malaysia and Indonesia. And for some other markets like Cambodia and Thailand and Singapore, they plan to reposition and grow. And for some other markets like Vietnam, Philippines, they plan to, they're doing a lot of digital banking over there.
Interesting that Malaysians and Indonesia are still the two biggest markets. I think they must account for at least 70% of revenue, if not more, and maybe more on the bottom line. So Indonesia is much more of a introductory market, if you like, right? A lot more interest income, if you like, there. New loans, cars, houses, motorbikes, I'm sure. Malaysia is much more of a mature market. Which one is he more excited about?
He's still counting on growth in Malaysia, especially over the next 2 years.
Okay.
But he's also looking increasingly for Indonesia and the rest of the overseas markets to come in. So by the end of 2023, I think 45% of their PBT is expected to come from overseas.
Okay.
And Indonesia is a sexy market for a lot of banks still because margins, net interest margins over there are still above 5%, and that's one of the highest in the world.
That is huge, but also
it also comes with a lot of uncertainties because
loans,
the rupiah has been weak. There's an election this year, and their interest rate, the key interest rate, has been going up. Like last year, it went up 175 basis points. So this year, we don't know. But so still a lot of challenges in Indonesia. But he thinks, with so much risk there, there's a lot of volatility. That's why the returns are also.
Yeah, it's the classic risk-reward scenario, and of course they took a big hit on forex translations as well.
They did.
But what about the question that every journalist likes to ask bankers, right? Deals, right? Are they buying? Are they selling? What are they looking at on that front?
What's interesting is he said, you might not believe this, but wholesale banking, and for them wholesale banking is corporate banking, treasury and markets, and investment banking. He said that the run rate for it seems to be almost the same where it was in a couple of years ago. So,
which is good, or?
Which is good, but let's see if that's sustainable. He says volatility is back in capital markets. So let's see, because if that works out for them, then their non-interest income could be the wild card for them, because it's going to be a tough few years ahead.
Yeah, IPOs and secondary.
Them having record earnings last year was also, to some extent, aided by divestments.
That's right. Okay, so CIMB is a Khazanah company, significantly so, right?
Yes.
And it's been deemed a non-strategic asset by the Khazanians, if there was such a word. It's a commercial interest, right? So did he give any hints? Was it discussed in the story?
So we asked him about mergers and acquisitions. Right. You can't not ask a bank like CIMB about M&A, right? This was a bank that went out and did a lot of M&As at one point. Right. Over the last 4 years, they sort of rolled back on it. And but no, he says, no M&As for the next 5 years. They will consider, especially not in Malaysia, but they will consider if others bring, proposals to them. But the 5-year plan does not include M&A.
Yeah.
But on Khazanah, we asked, if they plan to exit that could trigger M&A. He gave an interesting answer, but in a nutshell, he doesn't think. No, he doesn't. He thinks yes, Khazanah will exit, but that could happen they might dispose some of their stake, in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, 5 years' time. He says you don't know, right?
Yeah,
and they're not in a hurry to do it.
Classic response. It's all about timing and
it's all about timing, and he doesn't think it will be something that will trigger an M&A, in his opinion.
Yeah, so he's a relatively young man. I think only in his mid to late 40s. He's got another at least 10 to 15 years of good, energy and drive. Right man for the job, do you think? I mean, you've met bank CEOs for a long time. You've met all kinds of CEOs, right?
Well, he certainly got the energy for it.
Yeah.
The last 4 years were really tough. And sometimes it's not just about the CEO alone, it's about having a good team. And in the last couple of years, he has, a lot of the old guard have left. He's
Dato Khoo Hsu Chuang is retired.
Dato Khoo Hsu Chuang is the latest to have retired.
That's right.
And it's about having a good team sometimes. And he's hired quite a bit of fresh blood. And
quite young blood as well. Right?
Quite young blood. So let's see.
For more on this story, pick up a copy of The Edge Weekly at all good newsstands.